Welcome back out on the mushroom trail. It's another beautiful April day, and today I figured we'd do something a little bit different. I'm actually returning out to a burn morel site, but this is the exact same site that we featured last year, which is a little bit unorthodox. Typically when we're hunting morels, we tend to look for burns from the previous summer. This time, I thought it'd be interesting to poke around in what is now a second-year burn. I had this lingering question: how fruitful could it be? A lot of times, depending on which mycologists or mushroom enthusiasts you check in with, you'll get a whole range or host of different answers. So I kind of wanted to see for myself, could I find a fruitful harvest out here in a second-year burn west of the Cascades this spring? So let's jump into this forest. Let's see what we see. And it's great to be back in the burn. Boy, it's looking quite a bit different this year as a second year burn. Here we've got one of our fungal organisms welcome us in, blowing in the breeze. One of our Inky Caps, likely in the Coprinopsis genus. Notice underneath, if we can get a look, we've got those black spores that are soon to deliquesce. But we've also got a lot of vegetation that certainly wasn't here last year when we were poking around. Take a look at this fireweed, seeing lots of this. Also some of these familiar cups. Also the lungwort that fell out of the treetops after and probably during the burn. We saw some of that last year. But, you know, just as I look around out here, so much going on. Looks very different than last year. We're entering that next phase of growth. Certainly a lot of greenery, lots of places for morels to hide. But I'm super excited to see what all's going on out here. And I'm sure several of you remember our exploration of some of these pyrophilous fungi, the fire-loving fungi that follow these forest fires, this being one of them, Geopyxis carbonaria, this orange cup fungus. Certainly a great sign that potentially we may stumble across some morels today. So these have that real distinctive orange color. I love the way that the sunlight is catching these right now. Also that white around the rim. And yet another familiar sight out here. This one, definitely fun to see, but also not what we're looking for. This is the false morel, Gyromitra esculenta. This one extremely toxic, containing gyromitrin, which breaks down in our system to form those hydrazines or compounds similar to jet fuel. And we'll give this convoluted cap a little bit of a cut so you can see this hollow interior. So, you know, I could see how someone may confuse this with morel if they didn't have a ton of experience, but also quite a bit different. Hopefully we'll bump into the real thing while we're out here. And here we go. This is exactly what we came out here for. Take a look. So we've got a flush of burn morels. Again, we're in a second year burn. This one popping out underneath black cottonwood. And this pretty significant. It looks like we're timing it just about right. We're not too early, not too late. Hopefully this is the first of many flushes. Really interesting to kind of, you know, I'm going to be looking to key in on what associations we can make out here in the second year burn. But this one taking place under black cottonwood. And take a look at this strange bird. It's got a twin growing off the side. Kind of odd. And here's what I believe is our first natural of the day. This one, the American Blond Morel, Morchella americana. This one common under these black cottonwoods. You know, we dropped a few pins out here last year. This is not that exact same location, but we figured we'd bump into quite a few of these today, so hopefully this is the first of many more to come. We'll be keeping our eyes peeled. And wow, take a look at this. This just might be the prize of the day. We've got an absolute behemoth here. Takes up the whole hand. What a beauty. Just look at that, pretty pristine. Pleasure to add this one to today's collection. Starting to throw a few in the bucket. I've no doubt that those will pile higher. And one thing that I'm noticing as we're out here today, it seems a little drier out here this year as opposed to last, and obviously a lot more hiding places for these morels. But one area that I'm focusing on is anywhere where I'm seeing a little bit more moisture or maybe these little depressions, and always under cottonwoods. So these, of course, the naturals, the American blondes, they're associated with the cottonwoods. But oddly enough, last year we were seeing a lot of the burn morels being associated with big leaf maples and some of the other tree species, but a lot of them were concentrated around the maples. Whereas this year, it's definitely, we've found no morels outside of those patches of cottonwoods. So really interesting to see these new patterns emerging this second year. And I tell you, we're definitely not late to the party here with the American blonde. Just really looking stunning out here and hiding. Another beautiful little pair. Look at those. And looks like we're not the only ones doing a little spring foraging. Love seeing the sign of bears roaming about. And here's another little cluster of a few American blondes. Notice how at that very top apex of this middle one, we've got a little oranging. That's real distinctive for this American blonde. That happens quite often, especially in the more mature ones. These guys, all three a little on the young side. And here's a mushroom that I've been seeing a ton of today. One of my favorites. This is the split gill, Schizophyllum commune. Most of what we've been seeing today of this one, they're fairly dried out. But notice it's got this kind of whitish fuzzy cap up top. And then underneath this really distinctive split gill pattern. This is an incredible mushroom that's used both medicinally and as a choice edible in many parts of the world. If you're interested in that, I shot a video last year where I must have rambled about this one for 15 minutes. Check it out if you haven't gotten a chance. And what a treat this is. Check this out. This is what's known as lung liverwort, and if you look closely at the surface, you'll see these little splash cups. Those are going to contain the gemme, and then we've also got these very fleeting spring fruiting structures up top. Just incredible. If you're in the burns, keep an eye peeled for this one. And check this one out. I'm going to need your help with this one. Notice we've got these little bulging fruit bodies. This is on big leaf maple. I cut this one here so that you could have a look inside. It's got this almost ring or banded pattern inside that's quite unique. You can get a sense of the texture on the outside as well as on the inside. This one's got me a little bit baffled. Nothing is really coming to mind. It's got a somewhat distinct aroma. And here's another great example. So you can see quite a few of these piling up here. I went ahead and cut one so you can see that banding pattern. And then below it here, we see an older fruit body, I presume from last spring or summer. And notice it's got that pigskin texture on the exterior, and then you can see the weathered interior. That's a mystery to me. Let me know in the comments if you've got any ideas on this. And just like that, the newfound cottonwood connection has us back into another fresh flush of burn morels. And I always think it's funny how I'll notice one that may be the obvious flag, and I slow down, start looking a little bit more closely, only to find that I'm just surrounded by morels. They're thick in here, and boy, they have a knack for hiding, don't they? And you know, it's a little bit of a different game this year. You throw in a little greenery, you've got some growth, and that's increasing the hiding places that these morels have to pick and choose from, but they're still here. And boy, look at the light just hitting this one perfectly. I have a feeling that this is exactly what I'm going to be seeing when I close my eyes tonight. Sometimes that happens. You get morels on the brain and you can't stop seeing them. And don't be getting these guys mixed in with the morels. And I'm sure some of you may remember seeing this one in videos past. This is one of my favorite ones to bump into out here. This, of course, not an example of a mushroom or fungus, but in fact, a plasmoidal slime mold. This one is what's commonly referred to as wolf's milk, Lycogala epidendrum. And it's actually being researched for its use in cosmetics and pharmaceuticals. Fun one to bump into. And I'll tell you what, my buddy and I were just standing around this log, gawking at wolf's milk and false morels. Must have been here 5 minutes, and I glanced down, look at this. Turns out we're standing right plumb in the middle of another burned morel patch. If they were snakes, they would have bitten us. It happens. And all throughout the burn, I've been seeing a ton of this one. Our old friend, the veiled polypore, Cryptoporus volvatus. Bark beetles are just going nuts in this forest and bringing this guy along with them. So cool to see, a neat one that's got a lot of medicinal potential. And we're right back in them. I'm gonna put the camera away and get to work, but I'll hop back on and update you in a bit. We'll see where everything's at, but the cottonwoods continue to pay out. Oh, and I tell you, I did a terrible job of filming that last bit. I should have had the camera out the whole time, because that was an epic flush that yielded at least a few dozen of these beautiful American Blond Morels. So the naturals were really popping. At the end, we came out with a good few pounds. Hopefully, a lot of these are similarly finding their way into your buckets and baskets and bags. Until next time, happy trails.